All right, so I want to talk about something that happened to me recently that kind of serves as a cautionary tale, and hopefully you could learn from it. So, what happened? Let me build a scenario for you. Let's say you're getting these storage warnings on your computer that says your hard drive is about to be at capacity. I got this message and immediately I started looking for a quick and easy tool to be able to manage this for me. And when I'm on YouTube, I come across a video that was sponsored by a Mac cleaner. Now, it was not an ad like a YouTube ad. It was something that was built into the video. So I had it running in the background. And when the YouTuber started talking about it, a light bulb immediately went off in my head. I'm like, well, that's the tool I'm going to use to clean up my Mac. Now, some of you already know where this is going, and I probably should have known better. But let me tell you why this was a huge disaster. So I downloaded this app. I had a introductory fee, so I think it was like $8. So I did have to pay for it, which sucked. And then I had it run and do its thing. And what you don't realize is that these cleaners, these hard drive cleaners, they do a lot of crazy things under the hood. They'll start deleting critical files that are really important to your computer. And remember, these things go off the average user. So us DJs, we have a lot of custom audio driver settings or like unique drivers that not everybody has, right? The average person is not going to have the Alpha Theta DJM A9 driver installed in the computer. So these Mac cleaners don't really know that. And they'll often target duplicate files because that's the easiest way to clean up space on your computer. And if you're anything like me, then you have tons of duplicate files. I know I have, let's say I have my latest track and I have a WAV file of it. I'll copy and paste it into another Dropbox folder to send it off to another DJ. Or I'll make like an edit pack. And in that edit pack, I have some of the songs that I use, some of the edits that I've made in my DJ sets that I just want to put in a Dropbox folder to kind of send off to somebody, right? And in that case, I'll have several duplicates of the same file. And I'm sure other DJs have similar situations where they'll have duplicates of tracks that they play in their sets, right? Or I'll just have multiple folders of demos to send off to different labels, and each folder has several copies or several duplicates of the same demo, right? So there are multiple facets of having duplicate files in your folders as a DJ, as a producer. And that is what these file cleaners, these hard drive cleaners target. It's the duplicate files. So let's say you have an active Dropbox folder that has a version of a duplicated file, and that's being sent off to a label or to another DJ, and it's active, right? They're actively going through that file. If you run that Mac cleaner, those duplicate files are immediately deleted, and whoever you sent it to won't have access to that file anymore, which obviously sucks. And on top of that, if you have a method to how you organize and sort your music like I do, I have a dedicated folder for all my tracks that I use in Rekordbox. The Mac cleaner, the hard drive cleaner, is going to target the duplicates that are oldest. So oftentimes that means it's going to delete the file that's in the dedicated music folder that I've made for Rekordbox. So when you go back into Rekordbox, what you're going to see is the dreaded exclamation mark that says file can't be found, or let's see what it says. Look, I'll put it up here for you. So you see the dreaded exclamation mark, and when you try to load it in, it says load error, the file could not be found. So now you have to relocate your lost files. What I wanted, which was a quick and easy way to go through my hard drive and clean it up, ended up being an hours-long deep dive into my hard drive, trying to salvage all these lost files that have been moved or deleted or whatever. So what did I do? What did I do to solve this issue? After settling down, because I have jumped to conclusions and thought that I've deleted all my music, or most of my music, I went into Rekordbox and I did this. It took me a long time, but essentially, this is what I did. I go into Rekordbox and I come into File, and I asked it to display all my missing files. And as you can see, that's still quite a few. But I asked it to display all those missing files, and one by one, cross-referencing that list that's in Rekordbox with a Finder, opening up the Finder, and searching for the track itself. And I had to do that one by one for hundreds of files. So you can imagine how long it took me, right? So I would search those songs one by one, but I wouldn't automatically upload them to Rekordbox. What I did was I took all those files and put them back, or made copies of them and moved those copies back into my original music folder so that Rekordbox could find them. So I did that step first for hundreds of files, and then I went back into Rekordbox and had Rekordbox auto relocate all those files. That way I didn't have to relocate each individual file one by one. That would have added double the time, and it would have double defeated the purpose of this whole operation, which was to do it quick and easy, which obviously at this point I knew was no longer quick and easy. Now, there are some downsides to this method. For one, it's not foolproof. As you saw, and we'll go back to my Rekordbox, as you saw, I still have about 341 files that haven't been found. Luckily, 95% of these files are ones that I don't play, or that I don't play often. So I won't have an issue with most of my files, or most of my playable files, which is a good excuse to go back and see if I should delete them, right? But every so often when I try to load my hard drive or export my playlist to my hard drive, or try to load a song in performance mode, I'll get the dreaded exclamation mark, right? Which indicates, obviously, that the file can't be found. So I have to locate it, and that doesn't take too long, but every once in a while, I'll come across that speed bump, and if time is of the essence, that takes about a good 5 to 10 seconds, depending on how fast I can find the file, off of what might be a very anxious situation. And number two, which I found to be an increasingly annoying side effect to this, because I've migrated copies or some files, some music files, back from the old files or the Dropbox files or wherever else they existed as duplicates, and I've moved them back into my sorted music file, all those files that have been moved back in automatically take up the space of the date modified. So if I sort by date modified or recently added, all these files, which were hundreds, have taken up the top slots. So if I am looking for a song that I know that I downloaded maybe like 3 months ago, I will have to sort through all the files that I migrated to get to those files, which typically shouldn't take that long, 2 or 3 months. You know, I don't have to scroll too far down, and maybe just a few files. But in this case, I have to sift through months and months and months worth of music, probably a year's worth of music, to get to just 3 months ago, right? So that obviously sucks. But over time, it'll get better. I've just found myself looking for files and not being able to easily find them because all these older files are in the way, right? So I've told you what happened, what I did to solve the issue, and what you should do, and what all DJs should do. And number one, on top of everything, never, ever, ever download a hard drive cleaner, a Mac cleaner, a PC cleaner, any of those apps that promise to clean up your storage or clean up your hard drive. All they're going to do is wreak havoc on your hard drive, and there's so many things that are happening behind the scenes, under the hood in your computer when it comes to communicating with your DJ software and things like your audio hardware and drivers that you've downloaded for music production or DJing, that you're only going to do damage to your hard drive, and you're going to have to go deep dive yourself. So just come to terms with the fact that there's not going to be an app out there that's going to do it perfectly for a DJ, right? So avoid those cleaner apps at all costs. Now, personally, I do not like carrying an external hard drive specifically for music. I like to keep all my files natively in my hard drive, stored right there and then, so that, let's say I'm on a plane or I'm in a car, I could just whip out my computer and go to town, right? And start working. But realistically, there are limits to hard drive space. So coming to terms with having to use a hard drive was a little difficult for me, but I have 2 external hard drives anyway, and I've used them before, so it's not like a big whoop, right? So making sure that you put these external hard drives to good use. So consider using an external hard drive for storage purposes to avoid having to go through this mess of freeing up your hard drive for space. You already have that pipeline into another hard drive that'll keep you pretty safe with a buffer for a while. Once you've decided that you're going to use an external hard drive, or you have one that's dedicated for this, pick a file group that you're going to migrate to this external hard drive. And as DJs, I assume that the largest file group that's taking up most space in your hard drive is music, obviously, music number 1, I would assume, and videos, your social media content, and all those kinds of videos, mixes, and that is taking up a lot of space in your hard drive. In fact, I would say that's taking up the most space in my hard drive. So I picked that file group to move over to an external hard drive. Of course, I prefer local storage for my music, so I kept my music on my computer. But anytime I have to work on social media content or anything like that, I'm going to be saving those video files on an external hard drive. And there are some secondary benefits to this as well. Because I need to be hooked up to an external hard drive, it forces me to sit at my desk and plug in that external hard drive. And again, it forces me to stay at my workstation, especially if I'm doing editing of videos for content, for social media content, and that kind of stuff. It forces me to sit down and really focus on the work, which is a nice secondary benefit to this whole thing. And aside from that, it offers a pathway to migrate more files in the same manner down the line. At some point, my hard drive is going to get full again, right? So now I have a plan that's already set in motion with a hard drive. So what I did was I'm using one hard drive as a full computer backup, like a time machine backup, and a second external hard drive for all my video files, anything on OBS, anything that's done on my camera that I'm sending over. If I have a video file that's somewhere in my computer, I'm going to find all of them, MP4s, .movs, and move them over to the external hard drive in order to maintain the sanctity of the hard drive space and keep my hard drive from getting full anytime soon. So I hope this serves as like a cautionary tale. Do not use those Mac cleaners, those hard drive cleaners. They're going to wreak havoc under the hood. You might as well do it yourself and have a process in place so that you're not wasting a ton of time figuring out what files you have to migrate. For example, pick a file group like I did, movies, videos, all that stuff, and move them to an external hard drive. And from here on out, all my videos will be moved to a hard drive. That's something that you should do as well, because your hard drive space is very important. Imagine you start getting these warnings while you're performing or while you're producing, and it's an important situation. You don't want that to happen. So make sure that you are on top of your hard drive space, have a plan to migrate files, and of course, avoid those hard drive cleaners.